you had the opportunity to coach Lou Young, man. Like, how was that coaching him?
You know, I got a lot of love for Lou. Like, I love that dude. I love him. And as a player, it was crazy because this dude had that perfect balance. Because you want to talk about a guy who, when he was in the weight room, when he was in conditioning, speed work, whatever you name it, that dude was leaving everything in that squat rack or the field, everything. He didn't leave anything in the tank, So I love how to do work, but also on the flip side of that, he's gonna have fun doing it, man. Like,
welcome everybody to the Taco Thursday with JK podcast. I'm your host, JK, and this podcast is a self-help podcast that targets young adults that are striving to make foundations in their life, in their career, their businesses, their relationship status, and their role as a parent. And today we focusing on the element of the career, young adults, things that they face in their careers, making career choices. And today I got a special guest that's joining me today. My special guest hails from the great Sunshine State, Fort Myers to be exact. If you're an MTSU Blue Raider football fan, then you know him as the head strength and conditioning coach for your Blue Raider football team. If you follow him on social media, then he might be your inspirational, your motivational coach that you need every day. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all help me welcome my special guest, Matt Hickman. Matt, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's good, brother, man? Great to see you, man. I'm excited about this thing, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. And I'm fired up, ready to roll, man. Ready to chop it up with you.
Hey, man, I'm excited about this, man. Been looking forward to it. Like we chopped on the pre-show, man. I've been admiring your work from afar, and just the great work you're doing with the team, and just being able to call the football game. I see the work that you're putting in that a lot of times don't get credited to the strength and conditioning coach. So in late November, I see receivers breaking tackles, running back bouncing off of tackles, the players looking stronger than ever. And that goes to the work that you're putting in under your leadership and the guys that and the ladies that you may have under you, just implementing your program, man. So I want to say congrats on a great success, man. And just before I let people, we get into your story, man, just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, man, what you do.
Man, I appreciate that. And just like I always say, like it takes a lot of people to be involved in something, from the players to the coaches, man. And we got a great program here and a great staff around us to make all these pieces come together so we can see that magic on the field, man. But man, I was born and raised in South Florida, born in Fort Lauderdale, raised in Fort Myers. And, that kind of everything when you go through the childhood and everything, it makes you. I'm a firm believer of that. We all go through hardships, but, we got to be thankful for the things that we have, and we got to be thankful for the things that we don't have. And because those things, whether we had them or whether we didn't have them, that's what made us who we are today. And I'm always striving to be the best person I could be, man. And I'm thankful for, I love being from South Florida. I'm thankful for being around that because I was around, the type of athlete that comes out there.
Yeah, you already know. Yeah.
But that made me as an athlete. I was able to develop and grow, and into being a human being, and that playing ball down there and having the coaches that had an impact on me inspired me to be a coach, man. And that's really where I started. I was made, because I saw this one dude one day, and I was like, man, that dude's all jacked up, man. I want to get in that weight room.
Yeah.
He inspired me to go down that road. And then I understood the importance of that. And then when I was in high school, I didn't have the nutritional means. So I'm over here working hard, and I'm seeing everybody else grow. And I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And then when I got to junior college, that's when I realized, like, okay, that's what I got on. I got on food stamps. I had a little job, and then I was able to get that nutrition. And that's when I saw the growth and development. I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here, man. But Fort Myers, Florida, man, I had a group of people around me, good, and I was able to be developed down there. And that's as you know, our environment helped shape us, man. That's where I was. That's where I started, man, and that's how I was inspired. So,
nah, hey, Coach, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with this, man, because I know we talked before, and I think when you talked to my scholars, man, that I brought. Hey, shout out to Coach Hickman, man. He let me bring my whole class that I had at my school that I teach at, we took a visit through the weight room, man. They were blown away. Some of them never even been through a collegiate, weight room. So shout out to you for that, man. But you mentioned Florida, and I know we talked on several occasions. I'm like, dang, I must have forgot coach from Florida. But it's some when you find out a person from Florida, you be like, yeah, I can see it, right? And it's like your swag. I don't know if y'all seen the picture he sent me. I say, Coach, man, send me a pic. Coach sent me the swaggiest, sunshade, got the guns coming through the shirt. But it's just something like you say, growing up and to be exact, Fort Lauderdale, but just South Florida in general, man. It's just something about us, our mentality, our swag. Even if we're not really trying, that it just exudes and it comes through us, man. And I know you're getting ready because I really want to get into more of like your upbringing and things of that nature, man. I know we in the midst. Y'all just got the boys back up on campus, man. The schedule just dropped yesterday, right? So I'm excited about the schedule, man. But like, what's your mindset, man, right now? Just now you got the boys on campus, you got the schedule, you got Alabama. First game, then Missouri and so on, man. Like, just what's that mentality? How you feeling about the season coming up?
Man, it's just like I believe in consistency, and we got to be consistent. We got to be consistent, disciplined, and resilient, man. And it don't matter. My message to the team has always been, it don't matter who we face. We got to make them get on our level. You know what I mean? And then that's just the mentality that we got to take. It don't matter if it's Alabama, if it's Miami, if it's Missouri, like we got to make them get on our level. And if we do that, if we attack the day every single day, like we're making everybody get on our level, then I feel confident we're going to go out there and we're going to put the best product on the field. And now, I mean, there's different levels of talent all around the nation. You know what I mean? But as long as we have that mindset and as long as if we execute to that, regardless of what the scoreboard says, we're going to put the best product on the field. So when we look in the mirror, regardless of the end result, when we look in the mirror, we can be okay saying, you know what, I gave my best. We did our best. Does that mean we're happy with the outcome? No, but at least we can look in the mirror and say, we gave our best and we did our best for that day. And that's my mindset there. It doesn't matter. We don't look at our opponent and let that dictate us. We make everybody get on our level. That's my mindset, regardless of if it's an FBS Power 5 school or it's an FCS school. It don't matter. Like, we go out there, we put the best product on the field that we can every day.
Nah, most definitely, man. And I like that that mindset, like you said, that mentality is like you're not worrying about the opponent that you're facing, but just focusing on us. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's gonna boil down to. Just like y'all defeated Miami last year, ranked team, first ranked victory in school history, man. And I love to see, my former school, making history, man. And that's the mentality, like you said, you got to have to do so, man. So we know you now as Coach Hickman, head strength and conditioning coach at MTSU, man. But I want to go back to like how it all started, man. Like you said, growing up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, ultimately Fort Myers, man. Like, did you play sports growing up? I know you played football in college, but what sports did you play growing up?
So growing up, my first love was football, man. That was my first love, and then I just fell in love with that, playing flag football, then Pop Warner football, and then we rolled with that. And then I got into high school. I played football and baseball growing up, and then when I got into high school, I did football, and then I wrestled, and then I just did football and then track and field from there. And that was a thing because like wrestling was cool. I like the hand-to-hand stuff, just you and another guy going at it. But I was like, okay, I want to play college football. That's the route I want to go. So football and then track and field, running track is going to help me run, condition, obviously have my speed, work on my speed, stuff like that. So that's the route that I went there. And then when I got into college, it was football. So football was my love. That was my number one thing, man. And it was just, that was what made me. That was my identity.
Gotcha. Not growing up. Now when you playing for, in Florida, like it's the league. I'm trying to go to the league. Like, was that like your mentality? I know that was my mentality. It was like, hey, we going to the league, man. So like, what was your mentality? Just growing up playing ball.
That was it, man. Like when I was younger, I don't know, there was just something inside of me that I was always this competitor. I was always out there getting this extra work on my own. Certain things like that. I'd be out in the yard running shuttles and stuff like that. I mean, when I'm in Pop Warner and just trying to prepare to be the best that I could be out there, and that's what I wanted to do. I look at Deion Sanders when he's out there playing, I'm looking at all these guys, Emmitt Smith, Terrell Davis, Jerry Rice. I'm looking at all these dudes. I'm like, man, I want to be like them. You know what I mean? So that's what inspired me. And then, I got to, as I got to going, I was like, I don't care what my size is. I don't care what it is. I'm going to go out there and get my best because that's what I'm striving for. You know what I mean? I was striving for, and I wasn't, I didn't go Division I. I didn't get there. But I was where I was at, and I didn't care what the possibilities, what the chances were, what the statistics were. I was going to give my best and still strive for that.
Nah, for sure, man. So you talk about college, man. You went to Cumberland University, like, right?
Yep.
And not only did you go there, but you ball, it was all conference, man. So like, what went into that decision to go there, to Cumberland University? Coming from the career, you passed up a lot of colleges, right? Something just like people look at, like, man, how you end up at MCU, at FIU, FAU, UM, FSU, USF, UC? Like, how did you make your way up to Tennessee, and bypass so many Florida schools?
Man, that's a great question. So for me, like, I didn't have people putting value on grades. You know what I mean? I just knew what I knew. I didn't have anybody making sure I was doing homework. I did what I did. You know what I mean? I wasn't going above and beyond in the classroom. I just wasn't. And I was doing enough to pass. And then next thing you know, at one point in time, like, I was one of the best players in Fort Myers, and then I had nothing because I didn't have the grades and really have it was crazy. So for me, I was like, okay, I sat out a year after high school, and then I was like, I need something, I want something, because it was my senior year. I had to have knee surgery because I had like a bone spur in my knee when I was running track, and so I sat out a year, did some construction work, and then I hit my coach up. I was like, Coach, I need something. I don't care. I just want to play ball. I reached out to every junior college you could think of. And with the Kansas schools and Mississippi schools, they had a certain amount of out-of-staters, right? So that was nothing going. It was in August, early August, I think it was. My coach hit me back. He said, "Hey, there's a junior college in northern Minnesota. They'll take you." I said, "Bet, let's ride." So I was like, I don't care where it's at. I just want an opportunity. So I got the ball rolling on that, jumped on a plane, went up to northern Minnesota. And it was up there, like, it was nothing but a bunch of Florida and Georgia dudes on his team. And I'm like, I was hoping to play safety. I'm 5'9", a $180, a $185.
Just like me. I got
so I go up there, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, these are grown men. I'm like, these are grown men. The two starting safeties, there was one, he came from Northern. He went to Northern Arizona, then he transferred into the JUCO. He was like 6'2", 215. And there was this other guy named Jimmy Gunn. He was like 6'1", 225. And I'm like, all right. So right then and there, that's when I realized, like, okay, I'm like, how am I going to eat? Right? And have nothing. It was like, okay, you got to get on work study, and you got to get work on study so you can get food stamps. I'm like, cool, boom, did that. So I looked around, and I'm like, man, I'm in the bottom of the bucket when it comes to being an athlete here. I was like, I got to get to work. So I got to work, my man. Like, I got in that weight room, I got my nutrition right, and I was just grinding. And I just went out there every single day, and I gave my best. And that's how I earned the respect of the guys. And then in that off season, my coach was like, hey, man, I'm going to move you to corner. I never played corner. I was like safety, so I never played corner. So I'm like, okay, cool. I gotta get to work. So one of my boys was a corner on the team. And I was like, hey, man, we got to get together. I need your help. So I just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. I had a great offseason, biggest, strongest, fastest I've ever been in my life, right? So I go back down to Florida for the summer, and I'm like, I got with one of my boys. He played at FAU. He went to Georgia Military College and then went to FAU, and it was just him and me out there. And we didn't have a quarterback. It was just two guys, him and me, working on one-on-one, every situation you could think of. And it was just me and him going back and forth all summer. I go back to my junior college, and I didn't know what I could do. I go on there, I'm locking everybody down. I'm locking, like, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, man, I wonder if I'm doing good. I go back to the sideline. My boys are like, oh, what have you been doing? And I'm like, I've been grinding. Like, man, you are cold right now. I'm like, okay, let's ride. So I was able to earn a starting position there. And then I started every game. And then towards the end there, some things happened. I didn't do my due diligence. And my coaches, I really wasn't getting help there. I had a couple, I had Newberry College come to look at me. Youngstown State come to look at me.
Yeah.
Nebraska was looking at my boy. So like we were talking about potential walk-on opportunities there. I was like, man, I'm gonna get my scholarship. You know, I want to get back down to the South though, because I was not messing with that cold weather.
That code for the birds, man. Hey, this felt like, everything to Florida is the North, right?
Yes.
I'm like, bro, this the North up here, Tennessee. They're like, nah, this is South. I'm like, do y'all feel how cold it is? But I feel you though, trying to get down South. Yeah.
So long story short, man, I waited too long and I didn't have anything again. It's kind of like I fell back into that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my fault. So I hit my coach. He's like, hey man, I got a scholarship for you right now. I said, okay, where? He said, Cumberland University. I said, let's ride.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's how I ended up there. And I just feel like everything that I went through helped me be a better player. Like I played every position. I played corner at the JUCO. When I went there, I played corner. I played nickel. I played safety, free safety, strong safety. I played like an outside backer deal. So they moved me around a bunch, and that just made me more dynamic as a player. And, you can see that as adversity because I had to deal with, I went into Cumberland. I had a head coach there. He got fired. New guy came in, new program, new defense. Had to learn that. And he came in hot fire. This dude, I love him to this day. But he just came in straight from Iraq. You know what I mean? So from having to deal with death on a daily basis to coaching football. So this dude's hair was on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so I ended up learning all those positions, man. It was frustrating because I went from one position. I didn't get enough time to really settle in and get right. And which was frustrating to me, but I had to adapt. And then that's basically, I ended up so I played corner my first year there. Second year, I played like a nickel basically. And then my last year I played strong safety. So, it was good there and I had fun. I had some success, but like I didn't let being at an NAI school dictate who I was as a player.
Hey, Cole, that you just said something right there, man. I think one thing I want, man, because like I said, my podcast, man, I target young adults, man, and tackle different topics with that. And that mentality that you're talking about, how you looked at yourself and you took responsibility. You looked at high school and said, okay, I didn't get the grades, right? But then what am I going to do about it? And I think a lot of times where things happen to us, we may not take ownership for it. Or if we do take ownership, then we still don't ask ourselves, okay, what am I going to do next? We just sit and waddle in it, and you didn't. And then even when you went to the JUCO, going through those things and going to Cumberland, playing different positions, man, your mentality appeared to be, I got to make a way. I got to find a way. How am I going to do this? Like, this is what I'm dealt, or some of this is my fault, some of this out of my control. But what am I going to do? Like, what's that mentality, or what do you feel like a young adult nowadays that's going through challenges like that, or an athlete going through different changes, or someone going through different changes in their career, they're working somewhere, they really don't want to be there, or they know that they're better than the position that they're at. What's that mentality that you believe a young adult needs in order to maneuver through that type of adversity to ultimately get to a place like where you are, in their career, somewhere thriving, running their own things of that nature?
That's a great question. And I think the key to that is like just really like looking in the mirror, like what's going on here? Is it a situation or is it me or is it both? Right? Because we all like got our goals and our goals are going to keep us driving in the right direction. But it's like, okay, what do I want to be? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like in high school, I didn't get the grades. Okay, so I was able to get away. And in JUCO, I made sure I had the grades, but then there were some other things I didn't do. So just staying focused on what you really, really want and just having that delayed gratification, being able to say, okay, I know this is going to take some time. So if I don't get it when I want, then I got to really realize I got to evaluate where I'm at, and be real with yourself. Am I working as hard as I can be? Be working? Am I getting the right grades? Am I doing everything I need to do? A lot of people want to point the finger at somebody else because when they point the finger at somebody else, man, like coach getting over on me, because it makes them feel better about themselves. Yeah. Because now I can put all the pressure on somebody else. But are you watching film like you could be? Are you showing up on time? Are you going above and beyond the call of duty? Are you getting that extra work in? You know what I mean? From that perspective, because it's easy to point that finger and it's easy to feel like you're being screwed over, And one thing that I wish I would have done when I was younger with my coaches was ask for help. I never asked for help because I was so used to doing things on my own. If I would have just said, "Hey, coach," because I would go back in the room at night and I'm in that playbook like boom, 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 boom. I remember when I was in junior college, one thing I was worst subject was math. I'll never forget it. I come back from class, I put my headphones on, I'm running through these math formulas, just trying to get them.
Yeah.
And you know what the thing is I was doing it wrong. And when you do something wrong over and over again, you're reinforcing that bad pattern. Instead, I could have been like, "Hey, teacher, I need help." And eventually I did do that, but it was over too much time. So same thing with the coaches. I'm going in there, run through the playbooks, but I was doing something wrong. And then finally I was like, "Hey, coach, I need some help." If I would have done that earlier on, I would have found out what I was really doing wrong, but it goes to that time where you got to be like, "You know what? I ain't getting it. Something's going on. Something's going wrong. And I need help from somebody else besides myself." And when I asked for that help, he was able to point out what I was doing wrong and then where I can go right. And it was that point in time where things changed, because I always work hard, but I figured out the hard way that I was working hard at the wrong things.
Now that's real, man. I even struggle with that, man. Even like, life as like early in my young adult, as far as like after college, that post-college career, and even like a few years ago, just trying to, figure out with the speaking, right? And it's like, okay, man, I'm doing it my way to a certain extent. I'm investing in myself. And then part of it's like, okay, do I need a coach? Do I need, or am I good? And it's like, okay, Jeremy, you're having some success, but if you want more success, or like you said, like if you want to know exactly what to do, why not invest in the people that are doing it the best? And so when I started to invest in that and get in courses and take classes, now I started to get a greater sense of direction. Not that I was just totally off base, but it gave me more sense of direction. Like you were saying with math, like you knew how to do some things, but maybe you were missing a step or two in the problem, or you knew, okay, I know the game, but maybe I'm not reading the right players on certain defenses. And so, man, that's amazing, man, that having that humility to ask for help, man, could save us so much time, man. And that's power in that, man. So now at Cumberland, you major in fitness and wellness, minored in strength and conditioning. Like, so before we get I want to know what in your childhood caused you to want to major in that. Like, man, what in your childhood played a part in why you're doing what you're doing right now?
It started, I think I was in 6th grade. And this can kind of give you a little I guess a snapshot. Like, I seen this dude, big old dude. They called him Debo. Yeah. And I mean, dude was jacked up. I didn't know no better. And come to find out, he was a convicted felon. But that's the dude that I looked up to because of what his status. Dude was big. He was jacked up. Man, I want to be like that. And I asked him. I was like, "Man, how'd you get like that?" He's like, "Man, push-ups." So I'm like, "All right." Every night I'm repping out these push-ups, right?
Yeah. How many you ripping out a night, man? I need to get on that regimen right now. How many you ripping out a night, man?
Oh, I ain't doing that no more, man. That was when I was younger. So I just try to do all my work in the weight room when I get in there, man. But that's how I started. And then when I got into 8th grade, they had this like after school lifting program. And I was like, my science teacher was like, "Man, you can get in." I was like, I don't have a ride home. He was like, "There's an after school bus." I was like, "All right, cool." And that's when I got into lifting weights. And that's when I really, it just fed that thing. You know what I mean? It just fed that thing. And I knew how important that was, right? So, and then in high school, my coach, he took me under his wing, man. He did a lot of things for me that a coach, shouldn't have to do. Fed me, gave me rides home, said things like that, man. And I developed a really good relationship with him. And he was a great mentor for me. And that's why I was like, okay, I want to be a coach. And then when I got to junior college, we had talked about that process there. And then we had a strength coach. And I was like, man, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be a strength coach. So when I went to Cumberland, that's kind of put me on that route. And I knew what I wanted to do there. So, and it's something I was passionate about, and something I knew that I wanted to do because I did construction. I made pizzas. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's something that you can show up every single day and show your passion and give your gift to the world, man. That's what I really wanted to do. And that's what got me started there. And then And here I am today, man.
Nah, man, I think that's your story. When you said sixth grade, it's powerful because I'm working with young adults every day. I'm working with young adults, and a lot of times, especially like with those that's on that tier about to go to college and things, a lot of things that we do 50 to 60 years down the road, 30 years down the road, 20 years down the road, stemmed, if we look deep, stems from something that triggered us as a kid. And so it's like while I'm raising my kids, I'm like, okay, what do you like to do? What are you passionate about? What comes easy? What are you gifted to do? Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to go towards that direction when you get older. So the faster we figure that out, now we can eliminate other things and start to hone in. So, like you said, sixth grade. Oh man, I see this guy that's buff. Oh man, then you got a coach. That sparks your interest for coaching. Oh man, now I'm lifting weights. I'm love with the weight room. So how do I put staying fit, coaching, and lifting weights all in one? Man, you get to do that right what you're doing right now, man. And now you got focus, intentionality, in choosing a major, right? I don't know if did you ever choose switch majors when you got to college?
No.
You prove my point, right? Ohio State got this stat. It says the Ohio State, they say 50 to 75% of undergraduate students change their major at least once.
Wow.
And I believe that if a person discovers their gifts, their passion, and their purpose, then they want and they choose their major based off those three things. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to switch their major. And you are an example. You said, okay, I'm gifted at this. I'm passionate about this. My purpose is to help people and shape and mold people. And then that's what you were able to do when you chose that career and haven't strayed from it, man. So I think that's dope, man, that you had that started in sixth grade, man. You had that inspiration from way back when, man. So now when we talk about, we get into your actual profession, right? Head strength and conditioning coach at MTSU. But you started out as a GA at Cumberland. And 2 years later, you the head man. Like how did that happen? Talk about the power of relationship, and then like what mentality did you have to be able to accomplish something like that?
Man, it was just the same mentality I really attack everything with, man. I got to go to work. I got to go to work. And it's crazy because Cumberland didn't have a strength program. A friend of mine and I, we were like, man, like they had the football GAs running it, stuff like that. And it was just football, right? So he and I got together and we were done. He's like, hey, man, what do you think about, creating a strength program? I'm like, bro, I was like, we need to. You know what I mean? So like, basically we got together, chopped it up on some ideas. He put together the whole deal. We went over it. He proposed it. Boom. He got a job. Right. So I'm like, man, this is awesome. It's huge. So I was helping him out do it. And then from there, it was just like getting to work, trying to help him build that thing, and build that thing. I played there. I appreciate everybody there. You know what I mean? I respect that place. I want to see it be the best. So we just got to work. And then one day, like, he was like, hey, man, we're going to go to Vanderbilt. Like, I'm like, bet, let's go. Yeah. So that's when I went over there and I met Coach Sisk. And I was like, hey, you got any? Because at that time, I was trying to get something going with a GA internship, something. I was trying to get something going. And I was like, do you guys do internships? And he was like, yeah. He goes, get with me. I'm my assistant. I was like, all right, cool. Got with them. And he was like, all right, come in. I gave me like a 3-day kind of test run. And after day 3, he was like, my mentality was this. You get me in that door, you give me an opportunity, I'm getting this. Yeah. You ain't stopping me. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to happen. So I went in there, and after day 3, he's like, all right, you're on. Boom. I was so fired up, man. I was just, because I had been trying for 2 years to get something going, man. And finally got that. And he got me in the door, and I learned from those dudes. And next thing you know, and basically what was this? I was like, they're gonna make sure that they bring me on. After every group, I'm spraying down everything. Yeah. They're like, hey, you ain't got to do all that, man. I was like, cool. Boom. Next group, everything. Hey, man, you ain't got to do all that. All right, cool. After that, I did everything. I was like, they have to keep me. And then they brought me in. Next thing you know, after I get in there, like, I'm working with all SEC players. I'm working with some of the best players one-on-one. And I'm not saying that to like impress you, but I'm just saying, like, it all started from my work ethic. It all started from my mindset. It all started with my attitude. And then having an impression there. When my boy left Cumberland, I was like, hey, coach, I want to apply for the job. I was like, at my coach says, Vanderbilt, he's like, man, do it.
Yep.
So we got with the AD there. We talked about it. I interviewed. Next thing you know, I get the position. And that was awesome for me, because that was a whole learning experience because I had like 450 athletes by myself. You know what I mean? So I'm in there, like, got to make this thing good. I went in there, I painted the weight room,
Yeah.
like before I even started working there.
It was all purpose.
Yeah. So it was just one of them things. I got to go back there, and it was my alma mater, and I knew a lot of the guys. I played with a bunch of them dudes, and it was humbling. It was a great experience. I learned so much there because, I always say when you ain't got the resources, you got to get resourceful. You know what I mean? And I was able to create some good relationships there, and people that are willing to work with me, see the people that want to see you succeed, want to see the program succeed, and that's why that program is where it is now. But it was a great experience, man.
How do you think that experience being over? Because sometimes, right? We I was reading the Bible, right, and I was Moses, and Moses was, his leadership, like, it was complaining about the Israelites, like how hard it was to lead them. And God didn't remove him from his leadership role. He just allowed him more resources, more help. People helped him more. And when I think about that, like, you being over 450 athletes, all depending on you, like, how do you believe that has made your job easy? Not saying that you have an easy job at MT, but how do you think that experience has made you a better strength and conditioning coach in handling football at MT and all that you do?
Yeah, no, it's because you don't. So a lot of times you don't know what you can do until you do it, right? And then when you're going through that process, you learn so much about yourself. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes we get into this mindset of like, I'm gonna take it easy, or you may make an excuse for yourself. And I'll never forget it. One day, I'm sitting in there, right? I had to sit in the corner of the room. I got some football players in there. I got some tennis players in there. I got some soccer girls in there. I got some cyclists in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked around. I'm looking over here. I'm looking over there, right? And I'm like, man, what if I walked in this room right now? What if I wasn't a strength coach here and I walked in this room right now? What would I think? And I was mad at myself because I was taking it easy. And I was like, not anymore. I was like, I got to change this thing. It wasn't, I'm not saying it was bad, but if I walked in that room, I'd have been like, man, this place is crazy right now. So I made it a point right then and there. I said, not again. I'm making sure there's no corners being cut, nothing like that. So seeing that, because I had a lot going on, it's like I swear I didn't have any time for anything. I was in there at like 5:30 in the morning. I wasn't leaving until 9 p.m. sometimes. You know what I mean? And so I started to make excuses for myself, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And that's when that really helped me understand that. It's like, no matter what it is, because I got thrown in the fire, baptism by fire, but it's just like one of them things. If I would have kept making excuses, where would I be right now? But I didn't. I said, you know what? We got to keep going. And I was able to develop that because one thing, when you're a leader, and you know this, when you're leading men, women, it don't matter. They are watching you. They are watching your every move. And some people are like, oh yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Nah, that don't work.
Man,
Because people don't listen to this. They watch your every move. And I understood that then. And I just kept that in mind. And also too, is that sometimes we're like, man, I'm a young strength coach. I don't really know that much. But it goes back down to people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And you got to show that you care. You got to understand that your leadership is not anything to be taken lightly. And you just got to get to work. And my thing is, I always want to add value. I got to add value to these athletes. I got to be able to help them. And so I had to go to work. I had to learn more. Even though I was certified, I got my degree in it, there was still so much more to learn. So I had to get back in the books so I could keep adding this value. So if any athlete came to me for anything, whether speed, conditioning, strength, power, you name it, flexibility, soft tissue, I had something for them. Man, and that's really where I was shaped.
Man, that because that goes to my mindset as an educator, man. There's a saying, like, there's no connection, there's no correction. And so at the end of the day, if you don't care, you're not going to be able to correct somebody. Like, if we're walking down the street and a stranger tries to correct us, we're going to be like, yo, move out of the way. Like, what you talking about? But if somebody that you know or you trust says the same thing, you're gonna be like, okay, I hear what you're saying because I know that person cares. And so when we are sometimes, especially like in leadership roles, we like, man, just get the job done. It's like, no, you're working with people. You gotta make sure, say, hey, how you doing? Check on how they're doing. Don't just, it's not a transactional relationship. You gotta like build that relationship first. And then as you go, then you could be able to correct them and do things of that nature. But they gotta know that you care. And that is so powerful. And I think, man, and you get it that they're always looking. Like, so it ain't about what you say. Is like, think about you. I look at you, I'm like, oh, yeah, Coach Bot, what he talking about? Like, he in shape. Like, you working out. You take nutrition serious because I'm looking at you. You don't even got to say a word. And I think that your players that when you're telling them, hey, you got to eat right, when you're telling them you got to rehab, you got to prehab, you got to stretch, you got to do these things, they can look at you and say, nah, coach is really on this, opposed to if I'm maybe out of shape or I don't look the part, then my words might not hit the same. And I think that you got it going for you, man, when you got, not only do you know what you're talking about, but you live out, through your actions, what you're actually saying, man. And I know that you had the opportunity to coach Lou Young, man. And so like I had to ask you this, bro, because when I sent a video to you when I was watching. And I was like, dang, that's an impact, that huge impact coach made, because when you have somebody that's made it to where he is, and if you don't know, I'm talking about Lou Young, social media. Well, he played in the NFL, but he flipped over to the social media influencer, man, comedian, doing this thing, man. Just Google it and or YouTube or TikTok and see some of his great things. But when I seen that, I was like, oh, I got to screenshot this. I was like, I got to send this to coach. And so, like, how was that coaching him, and did he have that type of personality while he played, and like, did you see him being where he is now?
Man, first off, I want to thank you for sending me that clip, because that was on YouTube, but I never saw it. So when you sent it to me, I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know this was what's up, because I got a lot of love for Lou. Like, I love that dude. I love him. And as a player, it was crazy, because this dude had that perfect balance, because you want to talk about a guy who, when he was in the weight room, when he was in conditioning, speed work, whatever, you name it, that dude was leaving everything in that squat rack or the field, everything. He didn't leave anything in the tank, so I love how the dude work, but also on the flip side of that, he's going to have fun doing it, man. Like,
yeah,
I'll never forget him and Jamia Thomas, they be lifting it together in the same rack. And these dudes are dancing, clowning up, cutting up, and we doing some hard work. And so that's Lou right there, man. Like, that was him. So, he worked so hard, man, and he got to the NFL. So proud of that dude. He'd come back. He's still in the NFL working, like, putting that serious work. Like, again, just being consistent dude, and then to see him kind of do that, that's always been Lou. You know what I mean? He didn't just start doing this out of nowhere, just like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a comedian one day. Nah, that's always been Lou. He's been a funny dude, charismatic dude, outgoing dude, but also a hard worker. And he is where he is, not just because he's funny and that's who he is, but his work ethic. You know what I mean? Yeah, he, like you talked about, it's like, yeah, we got what we got, but getting back in those books, or getting more as an educator, getting a coach with the speaking. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's doing behind closed doors, but I know that guy's working, and you can see it. And the growth in him, every single video the dude puts out, he's not just a one show person. He's hitting every aspect of the different comedy stuff. So, man, I can't tell you how proud of I am that dude, that I still got a relationship, and the fact that, because we always stay in contact, I always message back on his videos, and I used to send him these motivational videos back in the day. Man, now that we think about it, so like when he was in the league, I make a video one day after I got the train, boom, I just sent it to him. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing it for the gram and nothing like that. I sent it to him, and we just kept that relationship going, man. And we just text back and forth sometimes. And for to see that right there, man, that meant so much to me, because of the relationship that we still have, even though I haven't seen him in so long.
Yeah, hey, like, that's the impact, man. That's what it's all about, man. And Coach Taylor too, that will actually, reference you to him. That used to be on the staff. That's at Colorado now. That's big. That's your coaching tree, right? That's your strength and conditioning tree going on, man. And now being a part of Colorado, I actually, like we talked about, I played against some when he was at Clemson, played against him in the Arena Football League, man. So definitely a lot of ties, man. And I do my research for the shows, man. I just stumble across all type of things, man. And so you 3-0, man, as an MMA fighter, man. Talk to me about that, man. Like what went into you starting that career? Like, and I know you at one point you had to decide between the strength and conditioning coach career and the MMA, but like what went into that career, and then why did you choose between two different passions? What made you choose the strength and conditioning coach? So I guess we can start out first with the MMA, man. How you got into that?
Man, it's crazy because one of my best friends, I remember we went out to this thing one day and he was boxing, right? And this dude was just, he was laying it on some folks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I was like, man, you got to show me how to do that.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So we started doing that and I got into starting the boxing thing, right? That's what started it. So then I'm playing football and I come back. He's like, hey, man, I got introduced to this stuff called MMA. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I went in a training session with him and some of these dudes, and I just got to start learning about it. And I was like, okay, I like this because like I'm 5'9", I ain't got long limbs. I'm 180, 200 pounds. I ain't built for boxing. So he got me into MMA and I was like, man, I love this. I really enjoyed this. So, when I go down to Florida in the summer, I'm training for football, I'm lifting, and then I would also do some MMA stuff, because I enjoyed it and it was going to help me, I saw it as conditioning, such stuff. So that kind of fed that. Now, what happened was when I was at Cumberland, I met these wrestlers, linked up with these guys. We're in this Ted shed, had a wrestling mat in there. So I'm teaching them how to throw hands. They're teaching me some wrestling stuff, some Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff. And then we linked up with this gym. This is while I'm still playing. And then I got done playing because I had been training. And then one day, the trainer, the coach, he said, hey, man, you want to fight? And I'm like, well, I've been training for a while. Let's do it.
Do it.
And I was in the very first amateur sanctioned fight in Nashville, Tennessee at the Wild Horse Saloon.
Wow.
And, yeah. And it's something that I like. I was just like something like, man, I was part of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we went out there, and I'll tell you right now, that was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life, man. Most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life, because I know I'm going across from this dude that I know he had more experience than me. He was like, I think 3-1 in the cage. I didn't have any fights.
Yeah. So
this dude's more experienced than me. And I'm like, I'm nervous. Like, the most nerve-wracking feeling you could ever have in your life, that heart's in your damn stomach. Yeah. And so like I had that like all day. I was so nervous. And then once I got into that cage and that door closed, I was so fatigued, man. But I'll tell you right now, like I went out there and you can go into a cage and do that with another man, another human being, and you can thank God I was, I didn't lose. But when I came out victorious, man, that is one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life, because of the work that you put in and that result that you get. And there was like, if you've ever been in the Wild Horse Saloon, it's not very big. Yeah. So there was like 2,000 people in there. So it felt like 10.
Hey, yeah, like it was packed in the, hey, for sure, man. Hey, well, you ain't just 3-0, you knocking people out, coach. So, hey, so salute to you, man. And when I read that, I was like, man, I didn't know that. And I know I had to ask you about it. And I read something that talked about making a career choice, right? When you got these two things. And that's the topic really that we tackling is making career choices. And I know young adults, man, as we grow, we get to this point like, man, I'm passionate about this, I'm passionate about that. You were passionate about UFC fighting, things of that nature. But you're passionate about strength and conditioning as well. So how did you choose, and what advice would you give to a young adult that are trying to choose a career between two different passions of theirs?
That's a great question. So I knew that I wanted to be in strength and conditioning. I knew it. That's what I said. That was my goal. That's what I set out to be. Now I had a bunch of people in my ear telling me, hey, Matt, give me 6 months. We can, at that time, the big money fights was like $30,000 a fight, $50,000 a fight. I had guys telling me that have been training with some of the best fighters. They said, give me 6 months. I can get you making that. And I'm like, all right, cool. It sounds good. But then I saw some really good fighters, dudes that were better than me, go down and get kind of kind of screwed on some fights on
Yeah.
big venues. And I saw that. I was like, okay, you got the politics and everything. And I'm like, I just had to go back to my roots. I knew I wanted to do this. And then I always told myself, when I get that opportunity, I'm letting it go. Now, I was very passionate. I love fighting. That's something I was very passionate about. And I enjoyed it. I legitimately enjoyed it. It wasn't just something I just did as a hobby. So I was okay. Got my opportunity. I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm going all in. And I'm glad that I did that because, the fighting, the CTE, stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I want to live a long, healthy life. And so I just had to go back to my roots and I had to remind myself of what I really wanted to do. And that's what left me. And it goes back down to, like you said, my younger years. I knew what I wanted to do. And I couldn't allow myself to veer off of that.
Man, and I wanted to know that, right? Because I think that, I don't think we have singular passions in life, right? There's things that we're good at. There's things that we like doing. There's things that we want to do. But then I believe there's things that we're purpose to do. And it seems like you knew in your heart from sixth grade and moving and meeting the coaches and being inspired that, hey, I'm purpose to be a strength and conditioning coach or to impact lives through that platform of strength and conditioning. You love, right? Working out. I mean, not working out, but fighting and being an MMA fighter, but ultimately you went that way. And so I just want that my young adults that are listening or will watch and listen to this to really like hear what you said. Like, hey, yeah, I like doing this. I was passionate. I love doing this, MMA, but I knew in my heart, right, that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think that is perfect, man. And I know it was some things you got to your clothing. Let everybody see your shirt, man. You got your clothing line, shirt line, coach.
Man, I got to be great, be grateful.
Yeah, for sure, man. Talk to us about your clothing line and your slogans, man. Be great, be grateful. And the work is never done, man. I wanted to get that in, man, before kind of end on that note on your clothing line and what those messages mean to you.
Man, as it's crazy because the messages started back when I was at Georgia Tech. And then, like I said, I was sending to Lou, but it was just like something that was on my heart that I felt because I love to inspire people, impact people. And because I needed that. We all need it. Sure. You know what I mean? But it's just not something that I want to give you the tools to help get you in that right direction. Right. So, during COVID, I was like, or in the past, I did some videos on social media and I got some feedback from people, like some negative feedback. I'm like, all right, I ain't going to do it. The guy started clowning me a little bit. But then I got to the point where I was like, man, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I got a gift and I'm going to let the world see it. And so during COVID, I started doing that. And I was like, you know what? I can't think about me not putting the best message out there because we got to start somewhere and we ain't going to start out great. So by me doing that, gave me more experience, let me know what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, how can I be better? So it started there, right? And I was like, I would always end like, okay, be great. And I would show it out. And one of my boys gave me some feedback. He's like, man, what if like you said be great, be grateful? And I'm like, man, I love that. So I started doing that. Yeah. And that's where that thing started from, right? So, and I try to live by that. I want to try to be the best in everything that I can be. And I also want to be thankful for everything and grateful for everything, and so I kept saying that. And one of my athletes, I think it was Jordan Ferguson. Yeah. He was like, Coach, you got to put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. And I'm like, man, you're right. And that's where this stemmed from. And I'll tell you right now, like if I didn't have great people around me, sorry about the camera, then they may not have inspired me to do that. You know what I mean? So it ain't all me. It's the people that I'm around that I'm learning from too, that I'm inspiring them and they're pouring back into me too. So I'm blessed from that perspective. Now, before that, one of my sayings was the work is never done. Right. And that's really where the T started, because I always wanted to do T-shirts and put like these slogans on it to like for people to like live by. Because when I was younger, I didn't have any principles. One day this dude was like, man, what are your principles? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. And he explained it to me like what our values are, principles. You know what I mean? And when he did that, I was like, man, this is awesome, because now these principles are something. He's like, you gotta feel so strongly about something, you're willing to die for it. And I'm like, man, that is deep. So I better pick some principles that, that I'm gonna live by. Yeah, for sure. So that's what really hit me with the principles there. And my thing is like hard work. Like everything that I've ever done, I've always gave my best. And that's why, like I said, the work is never done. Because like when you talk about athletes, The athletes got to come to work out, right? But then what? Okay, well then they got to go recover. Maybe they got to go to the training room. Maybe they got to go watch film. They got to eat. They got to hydrate. Then when you go home, you got to make sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? And then you got to go study film. Then you got to go to class. You know, so like in grand scheme, or as men, you know, when you go home, you got to be a father. You got to be a husband, a significant other. You got to be able to pour into them because they need you. They depend on you. Got to be a provider. You know what I mean? And so that's where something I was like, man, that I gotta live by that. You know, because there's a lot of things that I want to get done. There's a lot of people that depend on me. You know, just like, you know, you got a family, you know what I mean? So, and that's what the work is never done thing. And I want to inspire that with my athletes. And then it transitioned into, you know, be great, be grateful. And that's where all that started from. And I'm blessed to be able to share my gift with the people around me. But I'm always learning from everybody. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from the athletes. I'm learning from my staff. And just like I pour into them, I want them to pour back into me. And I'm blessed. Everything you see right here with me has been a part of me going through hard things, learning through things, and learning from people, but also being surrounded by great people. Because everybody's like, oh, I'm self-made. I used to think that. But nobody's self-made because you've had help along the way from somebody, or you've had influence on somebody along the way. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's why people make this life so beautiful, man, because if there's so much negativity in the world, but if we do this and you utilize the people around you, you create great relationships, you can get poured into you just like you pouring into others. And it makes us so much better as human beings, man. And really that be great, be grateful. That's me. That's who I am. And I hope I display that on a daily basis. And I want everybody around me to have that as well.
Nah, big facts, Coach. That's powerful right there, man. Well, hey, because I know I got to go cop me some shirts, man. Well, hey, where did you get the shirts from, man?
If you go on my Instagram, there's a link in the bio, but it's beabovetheline22.com.
All right, now tell them your IG. Tell them your IG. They can find your IG, Coach.
My Instagram is Matt.Hickman, MATT.HICKMANN.
Be above the line.
Be above the line 22.com. And the reason it's a 22 because Be Above the Line was taken, and it was 2022 when I created the line. So that's why it's 22.
Yeah, and Let's Go Amber said y'all better get your shirts. So hey, get your shirts, man. Well, hey, before I let you close, you're gonna close out with an inspirational message, man, to the young adults. But I allow my guests, since I've been doing all the asking other questions, man. Appreciate you for dropping that, Amber. She dropped the whole Be Above the Line 22. Hey, you got some love out there, man.
Let me tell you, like this wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. She's got a phenomenal line called Native in Nashville, and I've known her for a long time. And she like this my line, my website, everything is to this day it is here because of her. She helped me out, and because I did so much research, and I reached out to her. She helped me out, and this is where it is right now because of her. She helped me out. She put the team on her back, and she helped me out.
Shout out to Amber. And like you said, man, that's how, it's not a, self-made person, man. We all, like you said on the pre-show, standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Mm-hmm. And so we see the shirt you're wearing, but those are the people like Amber that you're standing on her shoulder, or her, she's, woman and, got everything going on the website and things like that, man. So we need each other to thrive, man. And so, like I say, man, I allow my guests to ask me one question, man. It could be about what we're talking about, be about anything, man. And then I answer that question. So, I know I've been doing most of all the answering of the question. So you got a chance now.
Okay. So I like this part because you know what I mean? It's like, I want to learn about you just like you learn about me, Coach. And I want to just go ahead and say that I am grateful for our relationship because, you're an inspirational dude. You're doing a podcast like this to make a difference in the world. Not just the people around you, but a podcast can be reached from around the world. And that's what we have in common. I respect that. You know what I mean? That's why we got a great relationship. We ain't even know each other that long.
Yeah.
Sure. But just that mutual respect for each other, man. And something for you, like, I want to know for you, what made you, when you were coming up, like, what really made you who you are as a youngster? And when did you feel like it, like, okay, this is who I am, and how did that keep you going in the hardest times of your life?
As far as, so when you ask me like who I am, when you talking about just the totality, or are we talking about like from a spiritual aspect? We talking about from a football player? We talking about just as a man? Like what is
Okay.
it? I can do all together, or I can, that's, I just want to make sure.
So growing up, you identified yourself as a football player, right? So
Yep.
let's start with the football player, and also too, I would like to know the same question, but spiritually.
Okay. Good. Great question. All right. And I talk about this, man. Growing up, my identity was blended. It was blended as far as trying to figure out who I am as a man and who I am as an athlete. And I share this, because we started playing sports at five. We don't know who we are, right? And to be honest, I'm still learning who I am in different aspects of me, right? As a father, I went from being a father, no father, to a father one. Now I'm a father two, so I'm still evolving, right? But at a young age, I'm playing a sport and I'm figuring out who I am. That gets intertwined, and so I thought I always knew who I was. I thought, oh yeah, man, I'm Jeremy Kellem. I just play sports, and it wasn't until I got cut. I got cut because I had football. I played football. I took a year off. I thought I was done with football my sophomore year, but that's a whole nother story. But anyways, kept playing. And then it wasn't until I got cut in 2011, right? 2000, I didn't get drafted. And then I went to the UFL and made it to camp and then got cut for final cuts. And that was my first time I was out of football. And that is when I really had to figure out who I was as a person without football. And when we talk about spiritual, I would say my commitment to my relationship with God was in 2009 when I ultimately made that that commitment, because up to that point my relationship, even past that point a little bit, my relationship was optional. And what I mean by this, like my wife, I met, we met in college, met in 2009, and we were, talking, dating. And she was like, hey, you going to church tomorrow? I was like, I don't know. I might. I went 2 Sundays in a row. And she was like, hold on. She was like, Jeremy, was it optional for Jesus to die on the cross? And I was like, ooh, right? Hey, that was like, ooh. And she wasn't saying that, oh, if you don't go to church every Sunday, you're a bad person. But she was saying that your commitment to God can't be optional. It got to be a commitment every day. And that's like with anything we do. I got to make a commitment every day. And so that's when it really started to turn around, like, no, I got a 100% commitment to God. And that was my walk. And so when I didn't get drafted, I'm like, God was like, okay, so you're going to go to church the next day? Because in that time, they switched the draft and the draft ended on a Saturday. So the 5th and 7th round was on a Saturday, kind of how they do now. And so my name didn't get called. And I was like a 5th to 7th round priority free agent. That was like the, kind of the talks. And so when I didn't get drafted, I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, like, God was like, okay, Jeremy, now you don't have football. Are you going to go to church tomorrow? Or were you only serving me because I gave you football? I was like, dang, I'm like, God, man, come on, man. Everybody know I wanted to get drafted and you got me going to church tomorrow. I'm going to be embarrassed. But I woke up Sunday, I went to church because I wanted to show God I was committed to him, regardless if he ever gave me football again or not. And so that's when my commitment is like, man, whether I play ball or not, I'm committed to God. Right. And so I never made it. I got to work out with the Jets. That's a crazy story how that worked out or went, I should say. But as far as me figuring out who I was spiritually, it was 2009, making that commitment, full commitment to God in my walk. And then 2011, when I didn't get drafted, I had to prove to God that I loved you, not just because you gave me sports, but I love you for who you are. And then when we talk about who I am, when I got cut and I was out of football and I had to start looking at some other careers, that's when I realized who I was as a person, that, hey, I'm passionate about the youth. I'm passionate about, sports, speaking and things of that nature, man. So it was those life events when sports were taken away from me that I really realized who I was. And then when I went back, like in 2012, when I was blessed to get signed by the New Orleans Voodoo in the Arena League, I already knew who I was. I knew football didn't define me because I had it taken away. And so now that I got it back, I came back with a new identity. I was locked in. I'm like, oh yeah, I know I am. Like, I'm Jeremy Kellem. I just play football. But when I'm not playing football, I'm still Jeremy Kellem. And I'll go on and do some amazing things even after my career. And so, man, it took those events, man, to really, I would say, really, revealing to me what my true identity is. And so when I transitioned from football officially for real, like done with it in 2016, the transition was much smoother because I had a clear identity and picture of who I was, man. So, but yeah, man, that was a great question right there, though.
Coach, you got a great story, man.
Man, and you know what's crazy when I appreciate that. And when people be like, man, what's your story? I'm like, okay, I don't know if I go like that deep into it, man. But I gotta start to mention like when I discovered like me as an athlete, me as a person, me as a man of God, like it was some key moments where I had to really see who I really am. And so now, like, whether I'm doing one thing or I do another, it's all tied to my gift of speaking, my passion for the youth, my passion for sports, my passion for people, and then fulfilling my purpose, which I think one of my purposes on this earth is to make a life-enriching impact in the lives of others. And so I do that through this podcast. I do that through calling games. I do that through teaching. I do that through speaking. So that's my triple threat. I call it my triple threat, though.
Okay, I love it, Coach. I love it.
Hey, I might have to put that on a shirt. You feel me?
Man, I'm telling you, do it now.
Hey, but
you out there living the message, man. You're being an example and providing value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like I wrote down like the no connection, no correction, right? I wrote that down. And something that like you said earlier in that question was like, I'm still evolving. You know what I mean? And let that be hope. Like same thing. It's just like, we are all growing. We're all you ain't done when you're done with high school. You're not done with college. Those are just phases. And I love what you said. Even as a husband and a father, you are still growing and evolving. You know what I mean? And that is huge. And hopefully it can inspire everybody around it. You got to keep growing. And even when you think you know who you are, you're still growing.
Yep.
And there's not a destination, man.
Nah, it's not. Nah, you keep going, man. And man, I just want to give you the flow, man. Man, share any message that might be on your heart, man. Just an encouraging message for the youth out there, the young adults that may be, trying to choose a career choice. And they're kind of stuck like, man, I like doing this, I'm passionate about this, I'm good at this, but I'm not passionate about it. Like, just want you to lead them with some advice and tell them where they can find you. Once again, your social media and your shirt, man. So and then
sure. Man, my message is always like, because I worked hard when I was young, but I didn't have the right strategy, right? So number one, I think the foundation is hard work. You got to learn how to just be able to grind. And what that looks like for everybody is a little bit different. You know what I mean? And sometimes you may look around the room and be like, man, I'm not the hardest worker in the room. Let that inspire you. Because I always say, like, even for me personally, like, you're going to have to get on my level. But if somebody walks in through that door, they're going to have to get on my level. But if I'm not on their level, shoot, I got to raise mine. You know what I mean? So like, that's what you got to do. Look around you. And even if you are the hardest worker in the room, find a way to get better, but make sure that you are working in the right areas, making sure that you're working smart, because you can go out there and work hard at the wrong thing. I gave that example earlier. So you got so many tools in our hands. We got Google, you got coaches around you. If you're an athlete, you know what I mean? Find somebody that can help you make sure you're working in the right areas. If you want to get faster, see a track coach, what I'm saying? You see your strength coach or whatever. Google, what's the best way to get faster? Work hard, but make sure you got the right strategies. And there's so many people around that are willing to help these days. You know what I mean? And then from there, like, when you want to choose something, think about something that you're passionate about, what you really enjoy doing, and then where you want the long term to be. Like, I knew I wanted to be a coach because the impact the coach had on me, I want to have that same impact on others. Why? Because it makes me feel good to know that I can help somebody achieve their goals. And it makes me feel good when I see other people winning, and it's just that's where you may think you want to go a certain route, And let's just say you get to a certain point, and let's just say, okay, I do want to change gears. That's okay. It's better that I go for something that I stand for and believe in, and I not get where I want to be, and I can change gears, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be a better person to where if I didn't chase anything at all, and find out, like I said, find out what you want to do, chase it, and do it with integrity, do it the right way, and making sure that you're helping people around you and you're making an impact around you, because it's going to come back to you. Everybody now, especially days, it's all about me, 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 me. Now it ain't all about you, and get fine with somebody and help you make them better, and they're gonna help make you better. But find what you want to do, find out what you enjoy doing, because the worst thing you want to do is go and do something that you do not enjoy doing. You got to wake up every day and go to dread. And I can honestly say, in my career that I've chosen, there's not been one day where I wake up and I hate to go to work. And it's just, I think people are in a rush to grow up these days. I think that people are in a rush to get that end result. And if you just go to work, have faith, and just attack it on a daily basis and know you're getting better, I think you'll end up in the right direction, in the right area.
Man, hey, well said. I don't have nothing else to follow up with that, man. That was a powerful in that, man. And coach, man, hey, I appreciate you for just being willing to make time out of your busy schedule, man. I know they just got back, right? Y'all for week 1, I believe, of this summer, continuation from the spring. So I appreciate you, man. Hey, for those that came, that tuned in live, y'all will be able to catch this on replay once I put it out next week, man. But hey, continue to wake up, striving to win on purpose, be intentional about winning, and y'all make sure y'all go follow Coach Hickman, man, Matt Hickman on IG, man, and make sure y'all go to his website for his clothing line, Be Above the Line 22.com, man. And I think you said nativeofnashville.com. That's the lady that helped get her a plug as well, man. Hey, once again, y'all continue to wake up, striving to win on purpose, be intentional about winning, and y'all have a blessed day.